Yo, what is up, everybody? It is Dives, Mr. Crackpot on Twitter. Welcome to the Suit Up Geeks podcast. The Suit Up Geeks podcast can be found on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. Check us out. Joining me today is my man Loretto. You know him on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. What up, Flo?
What up? It's another glorious Friday. TGIF. The weekend is here, and we have yet another fantastic, action-packed episode of The Mandalorian to talk about, and I love it.
Yes. And before we get started, by the way, we are doing a spoiler-heavy review of the tragedy, chapter 14, I think it was, of The Mandalorian. So, spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the episode, leave, come back, and watch us break
right
it.
Now. Watch it.
Yes, absolutely watch it. All right, let's start off with our top takeaways, and then we're going to grade it. And then kind of like project how we see this episode moving forward. And dude, like we got to lead off with the return of Boba Fett, man. We haven't seen Boba Fett since the season 2 premiere, but man, this return was absolutely glorious. There was something so incredibly emotional, like watching his ship, the Slave One, like fly into the atmosphere. I don't know if you got that goosebumps or not. But that was just like, because we saw him in Empire Strikes Back, a little bit in Return of the Jedi. We don't know what he's been up to, but there was just something so nostalgic about seeing that ship. We saw it a few times in the Clone Wars, but not live action. And that was an incredible moment. Like, what was your reaction to that?
This episode actually inspired me to compile a ship list because we've gotten many epic ones now, and we're talking about the Ghost, Millennium Falcon, the Razor Crest, of course, which we'll get to later. God, my heart broke. But also Slave One, and that to me is one of the most iconic ships, like right up there with Luke's X-Wing. So I, just like you said, man, I responded immediately. I was like, oh, yes, like, you know, like there it is. And what a glorious return, especially for a character that is not only beloved and like celebrated, but really didn't have a lot to do in the original trilogy. Like he kind of just stood there, looked cool, and then his jetpack went haywire and he fell into a Sarlacc pit. So it's really nice to see this return to form and see him in like kind of in his true glory, almost to say. That's something I think people have wanted to see, and we lived it through Jango, but now we get to really see Boba.
Yeah.
So, what a glorious return for him.
Yeah, we saw like, first of all, like, is it not like hilarious to the fact that like Boba Fett, one of the greatest Mandalorian bounty hunters, assassins of all time, isn't in fact a Mandalorian? Like Boba makes it pretty clear in this episode. He's like Mando, dude, I'm not Mandalorian. I have no religious affiliation here. And like Din's just like, what? So far he's met.
Did you take the creed?
He's met Bo-Katan. He's met Raylan Givens. He's met Boba Fett. And like, he is just such an outcast. And it is such a great parallel to Grogu. And I think that's where this is like kind of just been building up. But man, like we have been spoon-fed that Boba Fett is like the most badass bounty hunter in the galaxy. And we never really saw it. We never really saw it come, to life in film, TV, you name it. And man, like there were some, Robert Rodriguez directed this episode, and this has to be pound for pound, the best action episode yet of The Mandalorian. There is a kill sequence that I wrote in my review, by the way. Check it out at moviesmatrix.com. There is a kill sequence, a kill streak per se, of Boba Fett just going ham on all these stormtroopers, and it was glorious. What was your reaction to that, man?
Well, I was actually going to save that for our favorite moments here, but are we still doing takeaways?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, just in general, I will say I've been waiting for this one. So they announced the director's list prior to the season 2 premiere, and I am a Robert Rodriguez truther. I drafted Planet Terror in the horror draft.
Yes, you did.
I drafted Desperado for the action draft. I'm all about it. El Mariachi, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Machete. I'm all about Robert Rodriguez, man. Even like The Faculty, which is like kind of a playful like invasion of the body snatchers. but it's still fun. He knows action, and God, did he deliver. We'll go into that for one of my favorite moments later.
Another takeaway, I really enjoyed how they've really made an emphasis on Mando, Din Djarin's Beskar steel. One of the really cool takeaways is that we've seen it over and over and over again, how they've made the Beskar armor like almost a character in itself. And there was like this moment where you see Din uses Beskar steel to protect Fennec, who is terrific, by the way, as she was I don't remember what that episode was called in the first season. But it was, you see Mando just take blaster shot after blaster shot, almost like similar to the way like the Terminator protected John Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have emphasized Din Djarin's Beskar armor in season 2. And, this chapter was no exception. It was a really cool, it's been a really cool buildup. I love how they made that kind of an animal in itself. What's another takeaway for you, dude?
Seeing the strength of Grogu. I love that we can call him that now. I was kind of like staying away from it for a while, but that embargo is pretty much lifted. We're on another episode. So Grogu, he is one with the Force, and it just makes me wonder. I like that Ahsoka delved into his backstory the previous episode, but there's so much more I want to know. And it's like, apparently he's stronger than he realizes. And I'm still a little foggy on what's happening with his memory. Like he apparently doesn't know how strong he is, but he's apparently very, very strong. I mean, he's the same species as Yoda, and Yoda was like the most powerful Force user, when in his peak years. So it's very interesting to see how they explain that. And I'm also curious, he was obviously like, he was in like a Dalsum-like yoga stance, meditating in the blue force field that kept kicking Mando into the air. I'm wondering, did he make a connection, and who did he speak to? I think we can go two different ways there, and I'm excited to kind of dig into that when we talk about what we expect later. So
yeah, we'll get into that. That's really interesting. I didn't even think of that. So any other take? I mean, there's, obviously, do you want to talk about Razor Crest? Because that was a huge moment in this episode. We see, Boba Fett chasing down the light cruiser, and surely enough, poof goes the Razor.
Can I say something about the Razor Crest?
Yeah.
So I know the tragedy is obviously a reference to Grogu being stolen, but to me, the true tragedy was seeing the Razor Crest destroyed just in front of our eyes. I was like, no! Like literally, the second it blew up, I was like, no! I love the Razor Crest. It's such an iconic ship, and it's so cool. And it's Mando's home. It's Mando's home, and it's just like, God, seeing him like pick through the wreckage, that was a rough moment, And then he picks up the little ball that Grogu loves so much, and
that's coming back. You're gonna see like not necessarily a brainwashed Grogu moving forward, but maybe like he uses that ball to kind of remind Grogu of who he is and that fatherhood presence that Din Djarin has been. I think that's gonna come back in future episodes. But yeah, that was super emotional. I was just like, I froze when you saw the light cruiser shoot down and blow up the Razor Crest, because that was Din Djarin's home. That is his home. So where that goes moving forward, does he get a new ship? That was a really, really interesting moment about where this season goes beyond after these next two episodes, because we know he's flying around with Boba Fett and Fennec and Cara Dune. Any other takeaways before other best moments?
Oh, are we? Wait.
We're just
going into best moments, or?
Sure.
So I just want to highlight how badass it was before Boba got his armor. Yeah. He was portrayed brilliantly by Tamora Morrison, who is an incredible actor, and obviously did Jango in Attack of the Clones. But a lot of people don't remember this, or maybe not even know. And I believe it was in 2004, around the same time Attack of the Clones was out. He was also in Whale Rider, which he played a Maori father in New Zealand, and the story is about his daughter. But it was an interesting look at Maori culture, and a lot of people see that haka dance where people like, and like The Rock did it. A lot of like sports teams celebrated the haka dance, and it's a fantastic film. Long story short, check it out. Tamora Morrison's great in that. And when he had his little like staff thing, that it just reminded me of the Maori warriors. Like they're a warrior clan, and when they do that that haka dance, like that, like he just embodied that. And like, you know, for like Pacific Islanders and Polynesians, I just thought that was a great moment. Totally. Just laying waste to those stormtroopers, and yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I mean, and you talk about the using that single missile to take down both of those ships in space. That was so epic. Just a badass moment. Like Mando Din Djarin has had a lot of badass moments, but man, Boba Fett is here, and I think another takeaway from this that made me really happy was the fact that you know that Boba Fett's going to be in these next 2 episodes. This is not a one-off like we thought. And we're kind of like, if there was a con of the previous episode with Ahsoka Tano, was that you knew that was it. Like that was a perfect episode. It was a perfect, you know, build up to what we're going to see from Ahsoka on the live action, big screen, small screen, whatever. However, this was really exciting because you know that Boba Fett's part of not the Razor Crest crew, the Slave One crew, I guess, or I guess it's vice versa. But it's just going to be really cool to see more Boba Fett and all of that, and how that proceeds. What happens if Boba Fett runs into Bo-Katan? And there's so many things in my head that, and I've got a lot of questions to ask. Any other favorite moments you want to discuss?
Definitely.
Great.
I was actually saving this one. So. Yeah. Shouts out to my girl Ming-Na Wen. She's the voice of Mulan, the original cartoon. She's an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she kicks butt. Ming-Na Wen is glorious, and I love that she got her moment to shine here. I mean, they showed her martial arts in the first season, but she laid waste to the troopers in this one. And I swear, you can call her Fennec Mariachi. Like, there was a scene where she jumped off the rock and like blasted in the air, and I was just like, there. That's Robert Rodriguez right there. That's like, you know, Antonio Banderas did almost the same move in Desperado. And I just thought that was a great callback to Robert Rodriguez's films. And yeah, Ming-Na Wen is glorious. It's great to see her in action. And I'm so excited to know that that's their little crew going forth. And maybe they team up with Cara Dune. Maybe they all team up. Avengers Assemble style. Like, this is like building up to like, are we going to see them all line up together? Like Cara Dune, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, like Boba Fett. Are we all going to just go to battle together? Because that would be crazy.
You know what Fennec made me think of? Like, this is the closest we're going to get ever to a Bad Batch, you know, clone Task Force 99, like Crosshair. Crosshair is like the sniper in the Bad Batch. And that was like, this is the closest live action version we're going to get of Crosshair in the Bad Batch on the small screen. And that was like my main takeaway several episodes ago when we first got that Bo-Katan reveal. I'm like, give me the Bad Batch, because we know it's coming next year. I want the Bad Batch on the small screen live action, but it's not going to happen. Obviously.
You know, fun fact, he was actually my favorite Batch member, Crosshair.
He's so cool, man. He's so cool. All right, let's go into grades. How would you grade this episode, man? Out of 10.
You know, I saw a lot of people on Twitter, like even before I watched it, that complaining that it was too short. And, you know, it was action-packed. I love Robert Rodriguez's style. I loved seeing Boba Fett in action. But at the same time, it did feel a little like, not anticlimactic, but a little like lacking in the sense that, like, we had so much happen, but then so much didn't happen. You know what I mean? So the cliffhanger, I didn't mind. I think it perfectly leads into like what's shaping up to be a grand finale. I would say in terms of fun and in terms of an entertainment, it's a 10. But I think overall quality, I think, you know, some of my issues was like, I loved seeing like action in the bright daylight like that. But there were some sequences where it did feel kind of odd, where it was almost like too bright, and like we saw too much detail in like their armor when they're moving around. And I mean, I hate to make this reference, but there was like a brief moment where Boba tossed a stormtrooper, and I didn't mean to do this, but it just gave me like Power Ranger vibes almost. Like, it's just certain shots, like the way it came off. I think it would just have to do with the lighting. It was just almost like too bright. Like, you know, it just reminded me of watching the Power Rangers fight putties in the daytime, in the middle of some random desert or whatever the hell they are, you know? And then that's where my mind went. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it also kind of took me out of it for a second.
Okay.
So, but with all that being said, like with Boba Fett and the Dark Troopers and Grogu's force powers and the tragedy of the Razor Crest, overall, I would give it a 9.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in that 9.5 range out of 10. I thought this was probably the second best episode of the season. I fully agree with you, though. This is not an episode without weaknesses. This was only a 32-minute episode, and this episode is directed with such pace, such like exciting moments, and like just action that it was 32 minutes, but it felt like it was like 15 minutes. Like that was my wife's like first reaction was like, it's over. Like that's how fast it went. But I give it a 9.5 out of 10, man. Like this was the arrival of Boba Fett, and we for OG fans of Star Wars, this is a moment that a lot of people have been waiting for, and it delivered just like Ahsoka Tano, the new Star Wars fans of.
I halfway wanted to like hear like after he hit the missile and knocked down that stormtrooper ship. It almost made me feel like Boba Fett could turn around like, "Are you not entertained? Like, is this not why you came?" Because like people have been dying to see Boba Fett really like unleash. And then he had like, did he have a little mini rocket come out of his knee?
Something, yeah.
That was nuts. I was like, what the hell was that? That was so cool. So
love it. All right, let's go into what we are thinking. What are the biggest questions moving forward? Where we see these last 2 episodes moving towards. I got some questions. Who else is going to be joining Din Djarin's crew? We know Cara Dune is now like a marshal of the New Republic. Are Grogu's emotions going to get the best of him being part of the Sith and with Moff Gideon? Will we learn like what has Boba Fett been up to since Return of the Jedi? Are we finally going to get a showdown of Bo-Katan versus Moff Gideon with the Darksaber? And who's going to serve Grogu his favorite bowl of soup? That is like definitely first thing on my mind. Grogu needs his soup. He needs his soup, Lo. Who's going to give it to him?
Suffice it to say, he probably will not be getting any sort of soup for the foreseeable future. But I have a lot of questions too, man. And one thing about the internet is that it's never a dull moment with the theories that people come up with. I am kind of linking to this cloning theory because we saw the cloning tanks in this episode with Grief Karga, and it just makes me wonder, is this like the backstory to how we get Snoke, how we get Palpatine's return? And I'm also curious because, Ahsoka did mention, if he reaches out from the Seeing Stone, a Jedi will find him. But I'm also wondering, man, you're going to love this. I mean, God, what if it's someone like Darth Maul who answers the call? Holy moly, because it reminded me of Rebels when Darth Maul connected with Ezra. And, it's just like he has those channels. He's strong with the Force as well. And it's just like, who knows who Grogu called out to, it's got my brain working. So
I got chills because this is like, oh man, we got Geekly Goods joining. What up, guys? Such a great episode. Thanks for joining. Maul would be incredible. You gave me goosebumps, Loretto, because I didn't even think of that. Because all signs point to just a perfect storm. It is a bottleneck of Bo-Katan and her crew. We've got Boba Fett and Din and his crew coming towards Moff Gideon. They're going to just join forces and, like you said, Power Rangers, Avengers style. Who says on the squad, Mandalorians assemble? Any thoughts on that? Was it Bo?
It almost doesn't feel like it should be Din, though. Maybe Bo-Katan.
So yeah, that would be it. If then you have like Ahsoka and Darth Maul, another duel. That'd be probably the third duel, I think. On the ship, on the light cruiser. That would be that's too much, man. Like if that's even like a 1% chance of happening, we're gonna have to do our reactions again. Because
can I also say like how great Giancarlo Esposito has been with like the 5 seconds he's given every like 2 episodes. Like you give him 10 seconds and he just chews like the scene. He's just so damn good. Like the way he playfully like, you ever seen one of these before? And he like flashes the Darksaber like, huh? Right? Yeah, that's what it's like. his swagger, man. He's just dripping with swag, man. Giancarlo is a beast.
So this is kind of moving towards the thought that I've had in my head, and we talked about this in previous episodes. I saw this happening. Not everyone, but I definitely saw Grogu being taken away from Din Djarin, because we've seen a lot of the elements and themes of fatherhood. We've seen a lot of the what happens next after Grogu goes to his homeworld. Like, what is Din Djarin's purpose versus Grogu? I think that's been building up and building up.
Before we get into Leo's comment, which is great, I just want to say how underrated I think the beginning of the episode was, because it really felt like Din's getting ready to say bye. You
think
and
so?
He kept emphasizing, like, hey, I'm going to take you to this Jedi, and you're going to have to go with him, and that really got me. Even before all the action and craziness, that scene was really touching. So
my theory is, I think we're going to see, they're going to stop Moff Gideon at some point within the next 2 episodes. I think Moff Gideon is going to give a deal to Bo-Katan and saying, you will let me live. I will give you Grogu and the planet of I'll give you the planet of Mandalore back if you give me Grogu. And that's going to set up Din Djarin with a choice of what to do in that moment. And he's going to rescue Grogu. And if he does, that's going to trigger him against the Mandalorians. Because we've kind of, another subplot of this series has been kind of a journey of self-identity and who Din Djarin is as a Mandalorian, as a father. So I think that is, we'll see. I don't know. That has always been my train of thought, is the Mandalorian's about, 2, buddy cops on the run being chased in the galaxy. That has always been kind of like how I view the Mandalorian. So that would then, you stop Moff Gideon, but that would then kind of start the nugget of the season 3, which maybe the Armorer starts chasing the Din Djarin and Grogu as they searched for the homeworld. So any thoughts on where this goes, man?
I mean, my mind's twirling with theories at the moment, but I wanted to dig into what Leo was saying here. He was saying how he loves to explore all these different styles of Mandos, Din, Boba, and Bo-Katan. They're all so different, and I think that's so wonderful. And I also love how we got to a little bit of Jango's backstory, because Boba said something along the lines like, that armor belonged to my father, and your forefathers gave it to him. That armor is mine. I love that. And I love that. It made me wonder. I know that Jango and Boba aren't true Mandalorians. I love that we got a little bit of explanation on how and why Jango and Boba's armor came about. So
totally. Any final thoughts, man, before we wrap it up?
No, man. I can't wait for the next one. I mean, it's been getting better and better and better. And I think if Clone Wars season 7 was any indication, we are in for a hell of a ride these next couple episodes.
That was my main takeaway 2 episodes ago. We are in for the final 4 episodes of something that's going to be truly magical. And sure enough, here we are. And, if there was one final takeaway from this episode, is these next 2 episodes are going to be bangers. They are going to be just something that Star Wars fans have dreamt about. In Dave Filoni, we trust. In Jon Favreau, we trust. I don't know who directs these next 2 episodes. Any thoughts do we know that at all?
I'm not sure, but I know isn't there? I think Taika does one, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I think Taika has one, and one of the other directors from season 1 came back. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%.
I don't think we've seen a Taika episode, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think one of those is going to be Taika's. So
100% nailed it. It's got to be definitely Taika Waititi. I don't know who else would be. Who else is missing? So anyway, plugs. Anything you want to plug, man?
Just tune in to the Movies Matrix YouTube channel tomorrow. Christmas film draft. It's going to be epic. Going live at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, there we go. There's our director. Thank you, Leo. Awesome.
Rick Famuyiwa. Hey, he was great. He did the one with awesome. The Jawas and the Mudhorn. And then I think he also did the one with Bill Burr, right? Oh,
Mayfield is back.
Yes, I totally forgot.
God, yeah.
I totally forgot. We totally didn't even talk about that.
So we have Fennec, and then we have Crosshair, essentially. And now we have Mayfield, another sniper who is a sniper sharpshooter with the Galactic Empire. So Mando, Din Djarin, and probably Bo-Katan. They've got two legit snipers trying to take over this light cruiser. That was a really cool moment.
To me is, why does Mando need him to get to Moff Gideon? Like, is there more to Mayfield than we realize?
I don't know.
Like, what's the connection? Like, why are you gonna break this guy out of all the guys in the universe? So it just makes me wonder what's under Bill Burr's sleeve here. So
well said. I don't know. That is kind of random. That seems to be going out of their way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, totally.
Of all the people that you need him.
Totally. All right. Yes, the Christmas movie draft goes down tomorrow night, Saturday, December 5th. At 8 p.m. East Coast time, and Sunday night, 8 p.m. East Coast time at the Movies Matrix YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. What's really funny about that is my wife and I have back-to-back picks at the end of the round, just like the action movie draft. So I don't know how that happens. We do this randomly. So we both have some of the last picks in the draft. But what pick are you going to do tomorrow?
I think I'm 4th, which is awesome because not only am I 0-3, I'm like 0-3 in the past 3 tournaments. So I'm dying for a win, and it's nice to be a night 1 for 1, and it's nice to be at least in the top 5. So I have a good shot. I'm trying to like really stake my claim on some victories here. I love this format. Fantasy speaks to me. I'm a fantasy. I've been playing for it since 2005, and it's just I'm a multi-time champion, different sports, and I want to get one in this film category here. So,
I think I have a really good strategy for this. I think this is one of those drafts. Like action, I had no idea where to go. The DC movie and TV draft, I definitely knew where to go. I think this one is pretty clear, in my opinion, of how to win this one. So make sure you tune in 8 o'clock Saturday night. I'll be hosting. I think, Lo, are you doing the post game?
I will be doing both post game shows, sir.
Word? All right, that's awesome. All right, so that is going to be a ton of fun. So make sure you go check us out on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. Make sure you follow the Painted Lines. Make sure you follow Movies Matrix. Make sure you follow my man Loretto at Marcellus Durden and myself, Mr. Crockpot.
Hey, shouts out to Geekly Goods.
Shout outs to Geekly Goods. Thanks for joining, dude.
Check them out as well.
Absolutely. I think that's pretty much it. Should we wrap it up? Yeah. Take it easy, guys.